How's it going, people? It's me, Perfection, back for chapter 2. I say chapter 2 because I want to move on past the previous things now, and I want to move into more in depth on most of the things that I've said previously. So this is chapter 2. Think of it almost like GCSEs, and now we're moving to A levels. Kind of think of it that way. There's going to be a slightly more in-depth approach to the previous subjects. We started off with the basic version of it. Now we're getting into more complicated stuff. I saw something today. I was randomly going through the BBC iPlayer, and there was something called Incels. And I said to myself, what is this incel thing? Gave it a little go, clicked on it, and immediately I saw some guy that I've seen before. I've seen him before. It was a guy, and to be honest with you, I was a bit it was wrong at the time. It was a guy that he was rejected by a few women. He felt that none of these women he stood a chance with. Well, any women basically. He felt that he stood no chance of having any kind of relationship with a female, whether it be physical, emotional, sexual, whatever. There was no romantic interest coming back from these women, and he just lost the plot and decided, right, his plan was to go into this sorority center, whatever it was, sorority house with women, and just basically kill as many of them as he could. When that failed, I think he killed one woman or two women before the police came, and eventually ended it. And that's when that's when I realized that what the whole incel thing was. Instantly, I remember it happening back in the day, but the first thing that went through my mind was, well, that's kind of like MGTOW, really. But then after watching, say, 5 more minutes of it, I realized that it's a lot more deeper than MGTOW, because these guys, they have had probably no experience with women. And again, I'm not saying it from a perspective where I'm coming at where I'm trying to belittle these guys. Every single topic that I've talked about it because I've lived it. Okay, so none of my topics you will hear me say with me in dissing people or putting people down. If I've talked about it, it's because I've been through it. And I can tell you, it probably wasn't up until about 26 till I got into my first real relationship. So believe me, I'm qualified and educated enough to talk on behalf of incels, or to give my opinion on the whole incel thing, because I know how it felt up until that stage of just being rejected, of just being friend zoned, and I know what it felt, and it didn't feel too good. The problem that I have with the whole incel thing though, and what slightly makes them different from the whole MGTOW thing, is there's a lot more anger and a lot more aggression, and they seem to be of a lot more younger age, and they're talking about sometimes raping. Although I never went into like the sites that they listed there, but what I could see from the documentary was a lot of it describes things like rape, killing. One guy got in his car and drove down the road and must have killed 8 women and 2 men, just try to run over as many women as possible. And even the guy that I first described that tried to kill those women in that sorority house, he is somehow being idolized now for taking out women, and that's when I said, right, I need to come on here and I need to do a video, to all of the so-called incels out there. What you need to do really is join the MGTOW community, because there's a lot more mature MGTOW men. They've what did they say? What's that saying? They know everything about it. Been there, done that, wrote the book on it. That's the saying. They've been there, done it, wrote the book on it. You need to really come over, leave the whole incel thing, come over to the MGTOW, because it was painful to watch some of it. It did remind me of how I was back in the day and how I felt back in the day. But there's too much rage. There's too much rage in it. And the biggest thing that I want to say is that, first thing is that incel, just for people that don't know, means involuntary celibacy, involuntary celibacy. So it's not voluntary, it's involuntary. There's nothing they can do in order to escape the hole that they're in. Whatever they've tried to do with women just doesn't seem to be working, and now they feel alone, isolated, and so forth. Where was I going with this? Right. So you need to. My best advice is, first thing I want to say is, even when I was going through those emotions, and I was to a certain degree at times, in my my early 20s, it seemed like I was almost begging women to kind of have me in their company or give me a chance. It did feel that way at times, like I was almost begging kind of thing. There was also a strong part of me that was saying, we don't bow down to no one. So I'm trying to say, it's just, so with me, there was a part of me that was fighting. There was this rebellious beast in me that was saying, no, we don't bow down to no one. Ain't no one sellout. No one's gonna punk you, Luke. And then there was the other side of me, the manly side, the procreation side of me that was saying, no, you need to find a woman, and it doesn't make a difference how they treat you. I remember being stood up by one girl about 2-3 times, twice, and I still on the third time attempted to meet her. So I became a simp, and that's something that I want to get into in my next video, because there's one thing being an incel, but it's another thing having nothing but sellouts around you as well, because they make it slightly more harder. And what I mean by that, I went into my whole sellout video, but it's harder when you've got certain guys out there that don't actually have, and this is why I'm explaining this in the first place, they have zero respect for themselves. So what happens is that a woman can almost walk into a room, slap a guy around his face, and when that guy tries to defend himself, some sort of simp in the room will then jump up to save her. They know what's happened. They know that she's caused this problem. They know that really it's down to her and her ego. And when this guy tries to defend himself, there'll be some sort of bum or sellout in the room that will jump up and try to defend her. It makes it so much harder overall for incels, good men, and MGTOW, because of these punks kind of thing. So it just makes it really tough. But for me, getting back to the whole situation, even though I was to a certain degree begging women to give me the time of day, there was always a strong part of me that would suddenly take over me. It's almost like I was being possessed, would take over me and say, wait a minute here, who is she talking to, kind of thing. Who is she talking to like that? Have a bit of respect for yourself. So I'm trying to say, nothing ain't worth that. So if I was out on a date and I was speaking to certain women and they were saying certain things which came across where they expected me to maybe be a simp, come up with some sort of simp response, or me to agree with something that most men, a real man, wouldn't agree to. Don't get me wrong, there's always a bit of leeway, and there's always a bit of what's the word? A man is courteous. A man is he opens the door for a woman. It can be sometimes 70-30 on the part of a man when he's first initially kind of trying to court a woman, date a woman, but not to the point where a woman's walking all over you, or you're buying her drinks, you're buying this, and on top of that she might be throwing in insults. She might be constantly on her phone while she's on a date with you. While you're paying for drinks, she's constantly on the phone as well. You're talking to her, she's not really paying attention, she's not laughing at any of the jokes, she's looking at her watch like she wants to get out of there. You're just totally a doormat. I think with me, the point I'm trying to make to the incel men out there was there was always this kind of rebellious beast in me that certain times said, no, I'm not allowing no one to talk to me this way, and it would come out in one way or another. It'd come out in some sort of aggressive text where the woman was put in her place, or it may come out on the date where I say to a woman, what the hell are you talking about? Why would I like that? You have to kind of stand up for yourself. The point I'm trying to make is this: when people are talking about running over women, killing women and all that kind of stuff, it's because you've got no respect for yourself. you've given your power away. You know, you have zero respect for yourself. Learn to love yourself. And regardless of how any woman, how hard it is to get women or date women, always have respect for yourself. Yeah, never give your power away. You do have that common courtesy for a woman. Yeah, you are going to open doors. You are going to, there's certain times they're saying things and you're going to hold back because, you know, you're not with the guys and you want to charm her or whatever, but not to a point where you're a sellout or a punk. You know, you're not going to fight your fellow men over this woman and all that kind of stuff. Have respect for yourself. When you start to have respect for yourself, you won't be in forums talking about running over women, celebrating the fact that a woman's died because some guy really hurt his feelings over a woman. Listen, even a couple of my friends that I know have almost committed suicide over a woman. And I can tell you, even during the times that I was desperate, up until the age of 26, even my heart being broken God knows how many times, never in my life did suicide ever come into my mind, because it just would never happen. It just logically couldn't happen, because no woman would ever cause me to take my own life. No woman would have that kind of power over me. It just, not over a woman. It wouldn't happen over a woman, guys. Yeah. Did women hurt me? Yeah, they did. They took my heart, they ripped it to pieces, but not to the point where I actually felt like killing myself over no woman, ever. And that's, like I said, that rebellious beast in me, ever. But I know what it's like to feel like there's, you know, like you stand, you know, the rejection after the rejection after the rejection, and each time you're being rejected, it's tearing you down and it's tearing you down until you're almost like in the fetal position. You know, called, there was this part in Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, where he's curled up in the bathroom and he's oh. If you watch it, even now, if I go back now and I type in Ace Ventura, I Kissed a Man, that's what the scene's called, Ace Ventura, I Kissed a Man, and there's one stage where he's curled up in the bathroom like that, and he's like, but there were times where I almost felt like that. That's how much pain I experienced. But don't give your power away. Never in any stage that I ever felt, oh, I need to kill myself because a woman doesn't like me. Are you joking? Are you nuts? Stop, you know. So when you learn to love yourself and have a bit of respect for yourself, those feelings of running them over in a bus and raping them and all of that kind of madness, that all goes out the window. If it was really that bad, to be honest with you, if it was really that bad, although I said in one of my videos, don't pay for prostitution, if it was really that bad and aggression was that bad, then maybe that's what I would have to do. It's a lesser evil than you running over some woman. You know, I don't agree with guys in forums talking about women deserve to be raped, women deserve to be run over, slapped and whatever. I mean, again, I'm only going by what I saw of the video. The video didn't go into everything that these forums with all of these incels go through and what they say to each other and things like that. But to my incel brothers out there, it's time to leave that behind, push the whole incel thing to the side, move over to MGTOW. Yeah, MGTOW is the future for you guys. I'm not even heavily on the MGTOW myself, to be honest with you. One guy's trying to say, oh yeah, you're monkey branching and you're swinging. 1 minute you're for the MGTOW, you're not for the MGTOW, and this and that. I'm for the truth. It's as simple as that. And certain time that the MGTOW men are saying things, but they're not really accepting response. But let me put it to you in this way, put it to you in another way. In my life, the amount of sellouts that I've come across that were men is staggering numbers. So the issue to me was never women. It was never women. It was the men that were the issue. And that's why when I watch these MGTOW videos and all I'm hearing is women this, women that, what about the men? What about the simps, the punks, the sellouts that are men? What about the men that are sitting down in the room slagging women off, and then as soon as a woman comes in the room, they're trying to fight their friends in order to get with that woman? They suddenly change into some sort of punk or whatever. What about those guys? Who in the MGTOW is addressing that? So that's the issue that I had, you know. If men had more respect for themselves, half of these women wouldn't be doing what they're doing anyway. Okay? So to my incel brothers, move over to the MGTOW. Okay, it does have a few nut jobs out there, but it's far more logical, empowering, spiritual, true, uplifting than this whole incel thing. Leave the incel thing behind, please. I beg you. It's I know what the pain's like I said, up until the age of 26, I know what the pain's like. Trust me, I know. But the incel thing isn't the way to go about it. Anyways, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in another video. Peace.